What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Sports. I am Trevor, your host. Alex, my co-host here. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit that bell notification. I'll let you know when we upload a new podcast or when we go live. And a little bit of news. We will have Daryle the Guru Johnson from 95.7 The Game joining us for the Warriors podcast next Wednesday. He's our first guest on the show ever, so I'm excited to have him land a big name like that. And I just love his energy, so I can't wait for him to show up and do a little talk about Warriors with us next Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. We will remind you every day until that day when he'll be on. We don't have a time yet. Most likely later in the afternoon on Wednesday, based on his schedule. So I'm guessing 3:30 or so, maybe even 4 o'clock Pacific time. So that being said, today we're talking Warriors, guys. They pulled off the win against Minnesota 116-115, and you could see the difference in how that game went down as opposed to the game against the Raptors, where they blew basically not a major lead, but they were leading the entire game and they blew that game in the fourth quarter. They tried to do that here, but at the end of the game, I think they just pulled it together and put the D down, and boom, they won that game. A few things to note: Steph Curry got 31 points. The scoring was happening. Buddy Hield, which I think is the magic key to all this, scored 18 in that game. When he scores 18, 20 points, the team usually does pretty well. Everybody was contributing, though. Dennis Schroeder got his 12 to 13, which is good for him. Moses Moody, 11. Kevon Looney, 4. Gary Payton, 7. Everybody scored. Even Santos, who just started jumping into the lineup here, guys, got 5. So I guess what do we? It's hard to look at this team and see where they're going. They're so close to either being really great or not so great. They're just right in the middle right now. Um, Hard to say. I don't know. What do you think, Alex? What's going on, man? Do you think are they one move away? Do you think? I'm kind of wondering about the trade market here. Are they going to make a move or are they going to stick with who they have? I feel like they're going to make a move here. I think it's coming soon.
Yeah, I think there's some bright spots. It's just how ready are they, and how much does Curry want to forego a year of contending? Like, would a move put them into championship contention? How
Right.
much would they have to give up? And if not, maybe Curry sits there and goes, "I want to gel with this team, and in a year will be good," so he doesn't view it as wasting a year.
Yeah.
Because you look at, was it Trace Jackson? Is it Trace Jackson Davis?
Yep.
Like 15 rebounds, and he's done that before. So you're like, okay, maybe you have somebody to solve the rebounding thing. And and Buddy Hield, if he's I think they said just something like he was the team was 9-0 when he scored 18 points. Now they're 10-0 or something. So is it a matter of him and Schroeder uh, getting acclimated to like how the Warriors play?
Yeah.
And if so, and then maybe it is like that. And hey, look, if you had Draymond, would they have blown the lead as much? I don't know. I mean, they still held on. I think it depends. Like, I think if they go on a streak as they get closer to the deadline, they might be like, nah.
Yeah.
Or if they just go in the hole, if it's too big a hole, do they just, like you say, sort of tank the season,
Yeah.
the youngsters play? Or if it's not quite a hole, but they just need to they need to change things up. Like if they're stagnating, then I think they make a big move. If they're either doing really well or really terribly, I don't think they do anything.
They are so
So,
close, and all the games that they're losing, they are very close to winning those games. They're not
yeah,
far off. So I feel like turning the corner is something that can definitely happen. I still believe in this team, and I still think they can make playoffs and make a run, especially if they make a move. I think when Curry basically said, cool the Jets and just let us gel, and on top of saying, we don't want to make any dramatic moves that's going to blow the team up. We want to see this thing through and gel. That says be patient. We'll go and make a move if the move feels right and feels like it will connect this team a little bit more and get those wins. You can't go after a guy like Buddy Hield, not Buddy Hield, Jimmy Butler, I'm sorry, um, and not give away the farm is the problem. So I don't think Jimmy Butler is in the mix unless the Heat just want to give him away because he's not going to sign next year. There could be that. And then you have Vukovic from the Bulls, Nikola, who is an interesting prospect. He's great on offense. He's not a fantastic defensive player. I think that's why they're holding off on pulling the trigger on this guy because as good as he is as an offensive player for by the center standpoint, his defense is lacking. He gives up a lot of points. But then, they may make that move because of his size and his scoring ability because that's what they're missing. They're missing the scoring. So, I do think a move is going to be made if it makes sense for them. I also think with this team, the way it's constructed right now, they can win a hell of a lot more than they have. It's shown that even in their bad games, they're only losing by a little bit. Been blown out once or twice this year, once that I can remember. I mean, they got blown out by the Cavs, and I think there was one more blowout game, but that's overall, it's not horrible. It's not horrible. And if you look at the standings, they're 20 and 20, but the number 4 spot or number 5 and 6 spots are like 21 and 19. Let's look at the standings. 21, 22 wins. I mean, they're not far off from being a play-in team to a playoff team. It's really only a few games. So I think giving them a chance and the fact that the trade deadline is still a little bit of ways away. We still got 2.5 weeks or so before that happens. So,
Yeah, I think it's like it's got to be the right fit because I think there's only, I'm pretty sure there's only one ball on the
yep.
court at any given time. And Steph is a great point guard. People forget how good he is at assists because he's the greatest shooter of all time, arguably. Or maybe not arguably by the time he's done. And Draymond Green is an exceptional ball handler. And by the way, Dennis Schroeder is not a bad ball handler. So
Right.
what does Jimmy Butler add? I mean, he's a great all-around player, but is he like a 20 and 10 guy? And I don't know. How do you define defense? Do you define it by rebounding, blocks, steals?
I
One
think
of the
all of that matters, just not letting the other team score as much. A lot of that blocked
Vucevic is 10
steal.
rebounds a game. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Jimmy Butler adds value to this team. I think getting Jimmy Butler and gutting half this team kind of puts you in the same place you're at or worse.
Yep.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to go for Jimmy Butler.
I think they want a center. I think they need better defense. I think they need, a guy. I mean, the Vucevic guy, I don't know. He just seems like around a block a game, which for somebody his height, but it's hard to find that all around. Shaquille O'Neal's don't just grow on trees. Giannis's don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
Wembanyama, like they don't grow on trees.
I know. I
But they-
know.
but
It's
they-
tough. And when you're not targeting those guys in the first place, it makes it real
Yeah.
difficult. The Warriors never really target centers and make those people the priority. You can see it when they move for Buddy Hield or they make a move for Dennis Schroeder, which is good. They need scoring. But right now, the center position does become a glaring issue. I like Trace
Yeah.
Jackson Davis. I wish he was like 2 inches taller, maybe three
They don't
inches.
have a footer, as my
Yeah.
friend would say. My friend who
Yeah.
played international ball. He's like, he a footer. Like, where's your 7 footer? Like there's nobody. I don't even know if they have a real, honest to God, true, actual center. And I mean, like 7 foot tall.
Well, they got a guy in the G League that's tearing the league up right now in the G League. The problem is he's a rookie, and that's Quentin Post. He's like 7 feet tall, and he's scoring like 30 points a game in the G League right now. The problem is he's a rookie, and they don't want to bring him up and throw him into this while they're trying to get a winning team going. That guy could be the guy of the future, though. You look up Quentin Post. Uh, the dude is really on fire in the G League right now, and hard not to bring him up, but you need a veteran right now, not a rookie. Um, he's going to be a guy that the Warriors are going to watch closely as he goes on, though. I'll tell you that. Um, I'm going to look him up right now just to get some stats on the guy. I mean, let's take a look. Yeah, 7 foot. He's 7 foot tall. He's 24 years old, 7 foot tall, 238 pounds. He's from the Netherlands. Not that that matters. Boston College. And he was a 52nd pick in the 2024 draft. He is a rookie, but he's big and he's got weight to him. He's not 7 foot tall and a twig. He weighs 238 pounds. This guy could be something of the future. Yeah. It would be good to see what happens with him. Good to see what happens with him, but that's not where they're going to go right now. I know that because he just doesn't have the experience. So right now, it's just a matter of does a move get made and can they just continue on? Good news is if we go ahead and look at the Warriors' schedule, which I have right behind me, let's take a look at the Warriors' schedule right now. Because the good news is we are in January and we are playing the Wizards on Saturday at 5:30. So the Wizards are probably one of the worst teams in the league right now, record-wise. The Warriors got them at home. They get a win there. They're right there in the mix. They might move up a little bit depending on how other teams play today and tomorrow. If we get a few losses, the Warriors might move up a little bit in the standings just by winning one more game. So they're not too far off. I thought this month was going to get lighter. It is, but the Warriors aren't playing good, so they're not taking advantage of some of it. After Washington, they play Boston. That's a tough team to play, but the Warriors always seem to play them tough and a lot of times come out with a win. They got Sacramento, who's playing on fire right now. I thought that that would be a game that would be closer when they played them last. That didn't happen, but it could be a different game. And then they got Chicago and the LA Lakers, which are both teams that are pretty either have the same record or a little bit better or a little bit worse, depending on when they play, that record. Because right now they're one or two games off with those guys. Those are winnable games. Utah is definitely a winnable game. OKC, very good. They're probably not favored to win that game, but it's winnable. And Phoenix, which will be another tough one, but Phoenix is not playing well either. So, they got a chance to kind of move up in the standings this month. And I think going forward. So who knows what we're gonna get? Who knows what we're gonna get? I don't think the Warriors know what they're gonna get. I don't think that's why they're. I think that's why they're not making a move yet because they're waiting to see who is going to step up and start playing consistent basketball for this team. Very frustrating.
Yeah, and another thing too, it might just be one of those things where, like we talked about on the Niners podcast, where you try out certain guys just to kind of up their value. Like,
Yeah,
if you're going to trade, why would you make, why would you tip your hand? I mean, maybe Curry, like, I was thinking maybe he's saying, pump the brakes because we're not going to trade away the farm. It's just sort of telling certain teams not to bother knocking, or to sort of preemptively
yeah.
say, you know, we're willing to go this far, not that far. And so maybe, kind of temper other teams' expectations that they might secretly be in trade talks with. So,
Could be. And remember, we haven't had Kaminga for the better half of the last week and a half. He's been injured. He will not be back for at least 2 more weeks. We've been out with from Draymond Green. We've been without Draymond Green for at least two games. I think this last
correct.
was the third game out with some sort of illness. He should be back for the game on Saturday, from what I hear. With those two guys out and you still go and you still beat Minnesota, that is pretty impressive. Minnesota is one of the best teams in the league, and it may not show it by record, but if you look at the stats, their defense, they're a very, very good team. And to go in there and beat them without those guys says they got a strong team that is there. Can they play consistently? Can those guys come back and can the guys who are playing continue to play the way they are? And can Draymond Green come back in and play consistently? One thing I'll say about Draymond Green that I have to I agree with you that the fact that he is an amazing ball handler, passer, facilitator, but this year seems kind of odd because it seems like he's turning the ball over a lot more. I could be wrong. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I'm not gonna get too much into that. But if you watch the games enough, you can see he's making some kind of non-intelligent passes. I mean, it did some of the balls he's thrown out and then throwing the ball down court to somebody and then like it gets picked off and then it turns into points. I've seen him turn the ball over a little bit more than I'd like to this year. And maybe he's just pressing because he wants to win. But he's got to come back and take care of the ball better than he has in the last, you know, 10 games.
Yeah. I mean, he's also learning new people. I mean, it's one thing I always saw with the Warriors when they would pass, they'd make some plays that were just unbelievable, and they can erase any lead ever in the third quarter. They can just put in the death lineup and do
Yeah.
some amazing stuff. But you don't have those players anymore. You don't have Thompson. You don't have Iguodala. You don't have a lot of these players that help them. Like it either works really well or it can be really turnover heavy.
Yeah. Well,
if
they're
guys aren't.
instinctive players who played together for a long time. They don't have those guys. When Draymond Green passes the ball to any point on the court and Iguodala is on the court, he just knows Iguodala is going to be there, and he expects these other players who have
Yeah,
only been playing with them for maybe 2 or 3 years, which by the way, they should kind of know by now, I think. But some of them
yeah,
haven't, and they're not there, or some of them don't have the talent or the instinct. Not everybody can be an Iguodala, so
or
or
Clay Thompson, or
whoever
yeah,
else. That the million other talented players that came through the Warriors that are no longer there.
yep.
So you know, um,
I think that's some of it.
yep,
It's because again, I don't want to sit there and say because you look at Chris Paul, he's still assisting at essentially the same level he's always been. I don't think Draymond's lost that. I think he's lost the tools to catch the passes, and so it's kind of being a little glaring. Like I'm sure there's going to be a physical decline or a speed or a reflex decline,
oh
but
yeah,
that IQ, his basketball IQ is so high. I just don't think those other players are at the level he needs them to be,
yeah,
and he's probably going to have to adjust to what their skill level is. But that's
hmm
probably where some of those skied passes, or if it's just sailing or turning into turnovers, it's like you have to calibrate for who you're with now, and maybe he's just stuck in that mode
yeah.
residually of
I
who
totally agree with you. He's
like
probably stuck in
Durant.
the
I
mode
mean,
of you need to step up to my talent level, and if I put the ball there, that's where you need to
yeah,
be.
and then at the
Um,
meet in the middle,
yeah,
they have to come up to him. He might have to come down to them or
yeah.
adjust it. But maybe that's what they're saying is if there's been a lot of injuries and people have been in and out of the lineup, if he whizzes a pass, past Kaminga or Santos or Trace Jackson Davis, it's like, well, yeah, they haven't been in or they're young or whatever, and you got to gel.
Well,
But
you got to remember, Steve Kerr, to his fault, I believe, is toying around with the starting lineup way more than I think he should be. And of course, even for Steve Kerr, this is new territory because this has not been he's only been coaching the Warriors. I'm not gonna say he's only coached 2 bad seasons with the Warriors, and the whole time he's been here, and he's coached 4 championships. My point is that I think he's used to being able to toy around with the best lineup that he can possibly get because they win no matter what when they had those good players out there. But now it's a little different where he's trying to do the same thing where it's okay, how many combinations can I get? Can I see in the regular season before playoffs come? Because I know we're going to make playoffs, but that's not entirely true anymore. You may not make playoffs, and you may have seen your best lineup. And if you've seen your best lineup, you have to let them gel. You can't just take them out after 4 or 5 games and put in a new lineup for another 4 or 5 games and see if that works better. Doesn't seem to be working out that way very well for him. I think he's acknowledging that a little bit. So, I mean, I don't think I've been too much of a critic of Steve Kerr, but if I was going to be, that would be the thing that I would criticize is toying around with the lineup way, way more than he needs to. You've got the best players on your team that are, if you look at that lineup, it's glaringly clear who the best players on the team are and who should be starting every single night, except for Buddy Hield, who should be starting, but can't hit the broadside of the barn 9 times out of 10. Now, he had a good game last game. If he keeps it up, great. And I think that's what they're waiting for. They need Buddy Hield to come out of his funk, and it's been like 10 games or more. If he can come out of his funk and start scoring 15, 20 points a game, that's going to help Steph Curry quite a bit.
yeah, I think probably I don't know. I would imagine not having ever been an NBA coach or a coach at any level. I wonder if earlier in the season you have the ability to play around with the lineups without hurting yourself in terms of standings because you've got a lot of time left, and you also need to figure out what is going to work and what isn't going to work
Mm-hmm.
for the trade deadline. But if Kaminga's out and Draymond's out, then do you really have your best lineup available, or is he just
Right.
trying to figure out best available lineup?
And is
And
Kuminga even he's hurt. So is did his trade value go down? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I've seen some games from him that have been good, but then you also have to look at like Curry has, I mean, Draymond has, he's 35. He's probably got longer in the league than Curry because I don't know. Curry might just be like, I'm rich. I have Under Armour contract. My wife has a, popular cooking, empire.
Hmm.
I've got all these, abilities. I got 4 championships. He may not be playing past 40, or he could be that guy that's like, I don't want to stay home, and he could. But like, are you in win now mode, or are you in? You've got a few years to build, and then do one last 2 or 3 year push. Because if Curry's the kind of person who's like he's been, where he just defers to Durant, or if Thompson was hot, he would let him have the hot hand. Like I almost think Curry's the kind of player who could become a Ray Allen spot shooter and not care because he just wants to fill up his hand with and his other hand with rings.
That is what it
Maybe
is. That is exactly what I think he will turn into. I agree with you. You mentioned Ray Allen. That is a perfect comparison, I believe,
he's got
because
the
as he
temperament
gets
for it.
older,
Yeah,
yeah, as he gets older, he'll keep shooting. Can he run around the court like he always has been? Of course not as he gets older. That's just father time.
yeah. And
But
look at who his
he
father
can
is.
shoot.
Look at
So,
Del Curry. Del Curry had a great career being
yeah,
a six man. And there's some guys like, I don't get it. LeBron's probably never going to want to come off the bench. He doesn't
yeah.
need to.
No.
But Curry might not care and be like, I just want to win as many as I can. And
Maybe if you can convince Curry that the next superstar of the league is on the team, then you might be able to convince him to come off the bench
right, I
at
mean,
some point.
but he
But
was the kind of guy who gave up a few points
yeah,
average a year for 2, 3 years. What, 3 years when Durant was with us for 3 years?
yeah, 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did Curry give a flying rip during the prime of his prime to share the ball with another arguably one
Nope.
of the greatest shooters ever? I
Nope.
mean,
And
nope,
if you
he
can
didn't
win,
care.
if you
Nope.
can win, that's great. And I
Yeah.
think that's what it would take.
And
I
I
mean,
wonder, yeah.
yeah, I mean when Kerr first came into Golden State and he asked Iguodala to come off the bench, Iguodala basically said, "That's fine, but if we don't win, it's I'm out of here or it's your job, but I'm not coming off the bench. I'll give it a chance. I'll be a
Yeah.
team member here. I'll be a good team member, teammate, but if this doesn't work, I'm not coming off the bench ever again." And it worked. And it worked. So maybe at some point you might have that conversation with Curry, but that's not happening this year or probably next year. So,
Right.
but
So then where does that put you? Where does that put you for your trades? Because if he can say all he wants that he doesn't want to trade away the farm, but if he's
yeah.
37 and these 3 years of going, how long is a rebuild?
Well, let me tell you that I can answer that question kind of. It depends on where they're. For one, they've been high in the luxury tax for a couple of years. They've been trying to get out of that by lowering their cap, which they've done very well. Now, the trade market right now, it's kind of okay, but here's the thing. In the offseason, when you can pick up free agents, that's a different game. If you can bring a free agent in without trading anybody, depending on where their cap is, now that's something different. So I think in the offseason, no matter what happens now, the Warriors are going to continue to try to make a big splash to get somebody in here or make a trade. So it's not all doom and gloom if they don't make the trade or don't make a move at the trade deadline this year. Because even if they do, there are other teams out there that are just so good. It'll be really hard for the Warriors to win a championship no matter who they bring in. I mean, the Cavaliers have only lost 6 games all year. I mean, they are now are they going to be ready to go into the playoffs and make a playoff push and have that experience? Who knows? But I mean, this is a young team that looks like the Warriors of 2014, 2015. So I mean, is it the Warriors' time this year? That's the question. And that's hard to answer. They are a dark horse at the very best. I will say they're a dark horse. If they get a trade with a guy that can come in and make a difference, could put them over the top because when you have Steph Curry, anything's possible. But that's where we're at. That's where we're at. It's just a matter of we're not favored to win the championship. We're not even supposed to this year. But can we get it done? I mean, that's what happened in their last championship. Nobody thought they were going to win, but they did. They found a way through it. So there needs to be another piece to this puzzle to make that kind of thing happen again, though. They can't, I don't think they're going to do it without that. Can they make playoffs with the team that's constructed? Absolutely. My mind is at the point where it's like, okay, I'm fairly certain they can make the playoffs. Where it goes from there, you need that extra guy. You need that move to be made to really make some sound in the playoffs.
Wiggins played well, 24 points.
he continues to have a year. Wiggins, I think, is out of that funk that he had from last year, and we all know why, family issues.
Well, I think his dad died, right?
His dad passed away last year and was sick all
He-
year. So he was home taking
Yeah,
care of him. He took time off, all sorts of
yeah,
stuff. That bled in from the end of the previous year. So that was a big chunk of time he had
yeah. That's so
things on his
hard.
mind. This year, his dad passed away last year. This year he had a baby. His wife had a baby. They have a family. They have family.
Oh,
Things are
nice.
growing, life, happiness. He's playing basketball.
Yeah,
So that's not a guy I would get rid of. I just would not get. I think anybody who thinks Wiggins should be on the trading block, I
no.
just don't believe in that guy being the guy to move if you want to win a championship.
Unless it was like the biggest superstar, but not. No, he was the reason they have a fourth champ. You know, like Curry has a fourth ring, and Thompson,
Yep.
and Draymond, like all those guys. I would say if it were like some blockbuster for like Giannis or something like,
Yeah. It would have to be like him
yeah,
and
yeah,
2 or 3 first round picks and blah blah blah,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
have to be included. Fine, because Giannis could take that spot
yeah.
and obviously is a better player, so that makes
No,
sense.
Wiggins is great. Wiggins is a Swiss Army knife. He wants to
Yep.
do a little bit of everything. He wants to be like the number three option who can be a number one option on a given night, but doesn't have to have that pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had great
I mean,
defense. I mean, yeah, he
he
was off
continues
last
to
year, but
be the
he might not
one
long.
guy that is pretty consistent other than Curry. And Curry's had his downtime this year a little bit too. But him and Curry are the two guys that I look at and go, no, you can't trade those guys. Those are the two guys for me. So yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, let's get a second win and start what we call a streak here, maybe. Or is it a streak? If it's 3 wins, it's a streak. I think maybe that's it. Win streak starts at 2, maybe. I don't know.
Probably
Let's get
three.
2 in a
Yeah.
row. Let's
Let's
get
get
2 in a row.
consecutive wins.
2 consecutive wins or 3 consecutive wins will get us on what we call a streak. It's like Major League Baseball. Good win, fellas. We win one more, and that's called a streak. It's like
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, let's go out there and let's be better than 500 in the last 3 games, and let's get another win. So I'm hoping that we watch a game tomorrow and it looks good. And we'll have more to talk about next Wednesday, hopefully. So anyway, I think that's pretty much. Do we want to cover anything else? I'm trying to think about anything else we need to cover. The Warriors are pretty much. We're just monitoring the trade market right now, right? And hoping that they come out of their funk and shoot. They have no the shooting is so inconsistent. I believe that the shooting is coming. It's coming and it's going to get on track and this team is going to be much more like the first 10 win team, the first 10 game team that we saw as opposed to the rest of the season so far. They've got another 41 games to figure it out. So, they've got time. I think they're going to make playoffs. I think they're going to calm down and I think they're going to start winning. So, let's see how it goes. Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining today. And remember, we'll be back on next week. Daryle the Guru Johnson will be here from 95.7 The Game. That's going to be fun. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. It's Friday, so you're not going to hear us until Monday. Monday will be 49er podcast talk. We'll take a look at any news that's coming out from the 49ers. There's a few things I'm sure that we can talk about. I haven't seen much, honestly, right now, but let's talk on Monday and see what we got about 49ers news. And thank you for joining. We'll see you in the next one.